Welcome to another video in which we will talk about what is a questionnaire in research and what are the different parts of a questionnaire, and then what are the different types of the questionnaire that we use for our data collection. So first of all, a questionnaire or an instrument is a tool with which you collect your data. This data then you use for your data analysis to sometimes describe certain results or sometimes for the hypothesis testing. So we have seen the two parts in our questionnaire. First is the demographic part through which you collect data, and then you have the second part which is related to the items or the statements related to the variables of your thesis or of your research. It should be concise, which means that it should not go up to many pages, because then people, when look at your questionnaire, they will feel that it will take a lot of time to fill it. So try and make it as short as possible, but at the same time it should be clear to people. Now, what is the difference between the adopted, adapted and developed questionnaire? Simple means we usually take these instruments or these items for the questionnaire from some previous researchers. For example, for basic sciences, we use these kind of instruments to measure, let's say, temperature, to measure length, to measure small lengths, and to measure other things. So these are the instruments which have already been developed by other people. What you do is you just borrow them and use them for your data collection. The same is done with the social science research or management science research, that you take instruments or the items from other people. Now the difference is that if you're taking the same items in the same sense and you do not make any change in them, and you want to use them in your research for data collection, that is going to be your adopted questionnaire or adopted scale, which means taking the items from previous research without making any changes. So if you are not making any changes, you're just taking those items from someone and using them for your data collection, it will be known as adopted items or adopted scale or adopted instrument or adopted questionnaire. But sometimes when you're using those items in your context, for example, if the study was conducted in, let's say, China, and you want to conduct it in India, Pakistan or America, the context might be different. So what you do is sometimes you take those items, but then after taking those items, you make slight changes in them. Maybe you change a little bit of the language without changing its meaning. Maybe you change a few words. Maybe you skip one or two items from that scale. For example, the researcher was using 8 items and you are using 4 items out of that. Or you might be adding one of the items in that scale. So if you do that, that is an adapted question. Adapted questionnaire, adapted instrument or adapted items. For this, you sometimes use some kind of process that you talk to some people that can we remove this item, or sometimes you, if you're adding some item, you also talk to some experts that how to do it best. But sometimes you do not find the scale for your exact variable. So what you do is you develop it. Now, development of the scale is itself a cumbersome process. It's a long procedure. You have to follow certain steps, but eventually when you develop it, that will be known as your own developed scale. So this is how we differentiate between the adopted, adapted and developed scales. Thank you very much.